And welcome back to Sports the Nemo Way, the Julius Erving episode, Dr. J. The 6'7", 210-pound small forward is a one-time champ, one-time MVP. He's an 11-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, playing 16 years. I think I got that wrong.
It was 16.
It's 16.
I think isn't it 16 total though, and 11
Yes,
in the
it's
NBA?
16 total.
Yeah, and 11 in the NBA. After being the 12th pick in the draft, and he is a Hall of Famer. His career averages of 22, 6, and 4 on 50% shooting. And I didn't discuss before who I was going to, so it's either me or you, Ray, because you're the highest and I'm the lowest.
I'll go ahead and go.
Go ahead. Ray has him ranked number 13 overall and number 4 on his small forward list.
All right, Dr. J, the man of two leagues. Started in the ABA until he dominated. For a 5-year span, if it wasn't the Nets in the finals, it was the Pacers. You can see why he dominated 2 out of the 5 years. It was like 28 points, 11 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and that was his ABA years for like the whole 5 years. Now, once he hit the NBA scoring, went way down, along with a couple stats, but 21, 7.5, and 4 assists, that's nothing to, shake a finger at. Especially when he went from fast-paced to a little slower style of play. But that just shows he can adjust to the situation and still be great. One of the best dunkers of all time. The way he could control his body in air like he did was pretty amazing. Dr. J being able to control his body in his air made him one of the best scorers and one of the best finishers of all time. Athleticism, creativeness, to see baskets that aren't there and coming up with the score. Okay, so that's kind of confusing, so let me kind of alliterate. The layup he did behind the backboard with a scoop reverse, like who would have seen that score coming? Nobody. But somehow he went through the fourth wall until he seen it coming. But he could do that kind of thing. Dr. J, of course, with about 2 steals a game. His defense wasn't anything to knock either. But hell of a scorer, exciting player. That's Dr. J, and that's why he's on my list.
All right, thank you, Ray. That would lead us to Drew, who has him 2 spots lower at 15 overall, and also number 4 on his small forward list.
Oh, well, Dr. J, he was just an electric player to watch. I mean, I didn't actually watch him while I've been alive, but I've seen clips and stuff like Ray mentioned with his layup. No one saw that coming at that point in that game. And with Dr. J starting off in the ABA, he adjusted just fine to the NBA. We've talked about guys coming from the ABA going to the NBA who've struggled. We've also talked about people from the NBA when the ABA guys came that struggled once the pool of players got better. He did just fine. I mean, yeah, his scoring went down from 28 to 21, but then in a couple of years it went back up to 26. So, I mean, I think he was just fine. Either league he played in, I think he dominated. So, that's why I got on Dr. J to start.
All right. And that will lead us to Uncle Doug with a little bit of a jump to 21 overall and 5 on his small forward list.
Yeah, the layup you were talking about, Ray, is that the one against the Lakers?
I can't remember who he was playing.
I was the Lakers.
Yeah, that was the
Lakers.
Lakers.
That's the always. I know everybody talks about the dunking from the free throw line and stuff, but the play you're talking about is the one I remember. Yeah. I remember watching it and then seeing it over and over, and it's just unbelievable.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the Rock the Cradle dunk on the Lakers as well?
I was on Cooper. Yeah, it might have been. Yeah,
yeah. Because I think the only version of that dunk we have on video is actually called by Chick Hearns.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't go nuts or anything. He was just
right.
He just kind of says it real like blah because he's not happy about it. And we don't. There is no version of the Philadelphia announcer, so we don't have one where everybody's like, oh, and Dr. J has this crazy dunk. It's just like Chick Hearns and Dr. J avoids Cooper and dunks it.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen him play in the ABA. I do not remember ever seeing him play ABA games.
Those first few years when he was just stats were out of control. If you look at his total stats, he ends up 8th all time in scoring, slightly over 30,000 points. His average comes out 22nd. He ends up 35th on the rebound list, 63rd on the assist, 23rd on the block, and 8th on the steal list. He, like Ray said, he could play some defense as well as score. He was just an amazing player. I was glad that he did get a title. Unfortunately, it was against, but we won't talk about that. But I was glad that he got one. He did get, I believe, 2 ABA titles, 74 and 76, to go along with his NBA title in 83. He has 4 MVPs, 1 in the NBA, 3 in the ABA, and he won them back to back to back. 3 consecutive years. 16-time All-Star across the 2 leagues. 7-time All-NBA, 5-time All-ABA. Definitely deserves to be up on our list and up to the spots that we're all putting him.
I have a question, Uncle Doug.
Huh?
You said you don't think you got a chance to watch him play in the ABA. And while I was doing some research, I saw that the ABA did not have a TV contract.
Oh, that's probably why I didn't see it.
So were they never ever on TV?
To be honest with you, I do not remember seeing ABA games.
It was probably just local channels that would hold these games.
Probably. And at that time, with the Spirits being in St. Louis, they probably showed it locally in St. Louis, but I don't think anybody showed it up here. I do not really remember watching. I remember seeing some highlight things here and there, the red, white, and blue basketball and all the flash, but I don't really remember getting to watch them play.
Got you. That was my question.
Yeah, no, that's my opening statement. So,
all right. Well, that will lead us to Wade, who has him 22nd overall and also 5th on his small forward list.
We're right there together, Wade.
We seem to be pretty close on a lot of these. Well, real quick, actually, I was watching some highlights, and you all hit on, I think, all the big ones, except there's one that stuck out to me. He dunks on Bill Walton in one of these. Might have been a playoff game or a finals game.
I think it's finals, yeah.
And it is unreal. And Bill Walton's one of the best players in the league at this point. He's not injury prone yet. He's what?
That's his MVP season when they win this title that year.
Yeah. And not only did Bill Walton not block it, he wasn't even fucking close. Dr. J rose up with ease and just yacked it on him. No problem. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. It was crazy. But that was my favorite dunk out of all the ones I was watching. But they were all amazing plays, obviously. When I think of Dr. J, I think of he's the definition of a superstar. Because I think, one, that word gets used more than it should in sports today, probably.
Agreed.
But he's the ultimate superstar. I'm not saying he's the greatest basketball player ever. I'm saying he's the ultimate superstar. And the fact that he was an all-time great player. He wowed everybody. Everybody wanted to be Dr. J. Kids lowered the rim and tried to act like him. Everybody watched him. Back then there was even kind of a bit of a divide between whites and blacks and what they preferred, and everybody watched Dr. J. And then he used that platform and that popularity to market himself and the NBA and the ABA, depending on obviously where he was at the time, and to make himself more money and to get endorsement deals. And that led to other business ventures later in life, and that led to what NBA players do now. And that kind of started with Dr. J. He's really the first one to really ever do it. And then people like Magic took it to another level, and eventually Jordan. But it started with Dr. J. And he was an amazing basketball player. He was this amazing just superstar. He was this humongous draw for the NBA and ABA. He's kind of the main reason the merger happened, which is a big deal. And
really, I think the best way to describe how big of a deal he was when Michael Jordan came into the league and was tearing it up for the first 3 or 4 years. He was compared to Dr. J. That's how big and how good Dr. J was. That obviously Michael eclipsed him eventually, but that's who Michael was compared to, was Dr. J. I read a story looking up stuff for this. I think I might be wrong, so don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it was Peter Vesey, the reporter, was talking to Dr. J and was like, hey, this MJ guy really reminds you of you. And it, like, upset Doc. And Doc's like, dude, guys aren't athletic like me. And he goes, no, Doc, you don't understand. He's as athletic as you, only he has a jump shot. And, like, he's going to be better than you. And, like, than yours, Mike did what Mike did. So, yeah. I read that pretty much everywhere, that, the big comparison for MJ was Doc when he was coming up. Is that it, Wade?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that comes to me, who has him ranked 28th overall and 6th on his small forward list. Well, there's not a ton to say that you guys haven't covered at this point, but pretty much, one of the greatest dunkers of all time, phenomenal athlete that dunked on or maneuvered around every great shot blocker of his time. Super popular. His ABA numbers are special. He's the second best player on a championship team. He's an MVP of the league. Lots of cool things to say about Dr. J. He was just, the amount of popularity that people talk about that he had in the 70s. And he was playing in the ABA, and people were saying things like, we think Dr. J is the greatest player in the world, and it wasn't an NBA player. That's pretty special. But yeah, that's my opening statement on old Doc there. So I'll go with the normal, obvious question, but I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on it. How do you think Doc's lack of shooting ability would play today? You want to go? Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he'd definitely have to work on it a lot, but I think if he grew up in the day, he'd probably be not forced to, but I think he just grew up shooting the ball more, shooting it more effectively, and probably playing there for a while in the when they weren't merged together. He didn't have as much competition in that, so he didn't have to settle for jump shots all the time in the NBA and not NBA, ABA and stuff. So he probably was, and he's obviously more athletic than everyone. But I think not being able to shoot, he might actually be all right because he's so freaky athletic, and there's no big guys blocking his way nowadays. So he could probably just drive down the lane and not worry about having to go around a big guy or go over him. He'd be able to go over everyone now. So I think he might be all right, but I think he'd definitely be a better shooter today if he grew up in today's era. So
yeah, I agree. Growing up today, you would grow up practicing 3-pointers and jump shots, which I don't think Dr. J would ever be a great shooter, to be honest. But when you're that athletic and that great at getting to the basket, you just have to be good enough to hit the occasional wide open 3-pointer, or just don't be Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
And you'll be just fine. He'd be somewhere in between Giannis and Dwayne Wade. Both terrible 3-point shooters. Both are going to be or will be all-time greats, and they just got to the basket at will. One was a slasher, one uses power and athleticism, and Doc's kind of somewhere in between those two. And he would live in the lane and at the free throw line of today's NBA.
I think the D Wade thing's a pretty good comparison. The way D Wade attacks the rim, I think that's the role he would probably take.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be attacking the rim, and once he got everybody to collapse in, you put a 3-point shooter with him, and he can attack the rim, and if it's not there, kick it out.
Yeah. Another real big advantage that he has that also Jordan had, his hands are so damn big. And he can grab that ball and he can do whatever he wants with it in the air. So he's literally almost unstoppable to stop when he's going to the basket. Once he gets a certain opening or he gets up, fully at the top of his vertical, he can maneuver that ball around at will because he can palm it so easily. Him and Jordan both use that to their advantage nonstop, and it's so hard to stop someone that's doing that.
And in today's NBA, where they couldn't lay him out every time he went down the lane,
That too.
I think he'd really be.
They take away the 7-footers, plop right in the middle of the lane, and they can't foul you.
Well, I mean, you watch these highlights. We're talking about not the cradle one because it's on a fast break, but even the behind the backboard reverse. Like, there's like 6 guys standing in the lane.
Oh yeah,
It's not just one center.
right.
Like the forwards are in there, and both teams' guys are in there, like, because they're all just stacked up inside there, and there's a lot of guys standing in that paint.
And he was dominating with all his guys in the paint.
Yep.
Even he's so athletic when he gets into his low to mid 30s, and he's got a lot of wear and tear on those knees. He's still getting you 20 points a game, going to the basket and jumping through and over people. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Ray, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, everybody. I think everybody pretty much said it, but I mean, the guy was phenomenal, and you really couldn't do nothing with him.
So I guess since we haven't talked about it in a few, more than a few, I don't know. How long has it been since we talked about an ABA guy?
It's been a while.
Rick Barry, the
Rick
last
Barry,
one.
yeah.
I was going to say Rick Barry.
Was it that long ago?
I feel like we're missing someone, but that's the last one I can think
Yeah,
of.
he gets randomly brought up a couple times in other episodes, but I mean, wow, I
Yeah.
can't believe it's been that long. Or maybe
Been a
George
while.
Yeah,
Gervin.
say George Gervin.
Gervin.
I can't remember which one of those came first, to be honest with you, Gervin or Barry.
Oh, Barry was off 2 lists. Gervin just missed 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It'd be
That's true.
Gervin, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Probably Gervin.
Yep.
Gervin also wasn't in the ABA very long, was he?
Just a couple years.
2
I think,
years,
Yeah.
maybe 3.
Yeah, but he played with Doc.
Yeah, briefly.
Mm.
But anyway, so I guess the first question is, or the first statement, I guess, is Doc's ABA stats are holy crap.
Yeah.
His rookie season, he averaged 27, 15, and 4. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then, 32, 12, and 4. 27, 10 and 5, 28, 10 and 5, 29, 11 and 5.
He won the MVP in 74, 75, 76. That was the 27-4, 27-9, and 29-3 you mentioned. So I was looking at the year before, the 72-73 season. He averaged 31-9, 12-2, 4.2 assists, 2.5 steals, 1.8 blocks, and did not win the MVP. So I thought, holy crap, who won it? So I looked it up, and it was Billy Cunningham.
Okay.
He won with 24.1 points, 12 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 2.6 steals. So I don't see how he didn't win it that year, too.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I did listen to a podcast, and I did obviously doing some extra research just to make sure I knew what I was talking about. He says when he first came to the NBA, the 76ers had a lot of good scores, kind of, what's the word? Kind of selfish players and scores.
George McGinnis.
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
first one they brought up, actually. And then there was they named off 3 or 4. And he said he tried the first couple of years to defer to them a lot, thinking it was better for the team. And then after a couple of years of them not advancing as far as he thought they should, or everyone thought they should, he eventually said, after there were some changes to the team, and he eventually decided, screw that, I'm going to be more aggressive shooting the ball. It's kind of like Drew said, he has these insane scoring numbers in the ABA, and then it drops to 21 and 20, and then it spikes back up again. After it spikes back up when he's starting to enter his 30s. But he does claim to try to defer a lot more in those first couple seasons to his teammates, and it doesn't work. And then he's, says, screw it, I'm going back to my scoring ways. So if that is true, he probably, when he comes to the NBA, is probably still capable of putting up mid to high 20 points per game, I'm guessing, because he does it just a couple years later at the same exact efficiency rate.
Well, his increase in scoring also coincides with George McGinnis no longer being on the team.
Yeah. They get Maurice Cheeks, right?
Yes, Maurice Cheeks. Before, and they had that whole time they had Collins.
Doug Collins.
Doug Collins, yeah,
Right.
and he was like a 19 a game guy.
Bobby Jones was in and out of there.
Bobby Jones came, I think, after McGinnis left.
Yeah.
But Bobby Jones at that point wasn't the scorer he used to be. He was more of just a defensive specialist.
Yeah.
He was never. He was what? Yeah, at most
15, 16. Yeah.
I think
Mo Cheeks came later.
Yeah, Mo Cheeks was there for quite a while.
Yeah.
But I was actually looking at the team stats for all these years with the Sixers. And for the first couple of years he's a Sixer, he's not even the leading scorer on the team. It's George McGinnis. And so out of his 11 years in the NBA, he is the leading scorer for the 76ers 4 times.
obviously Moses would take.
Moses takes it for like 3 straight years.
Yeah.
And then Barkley takes it after Moses.
He's better than McGinnis, though.
Oh yeah, I mean McGinnis didn't make my list. I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's not. I'm not saying Doc. George McGinnis is better than Doc.
No, I wasn't saying you thought that. I just wanted the audience to know Dr. J is better than McGinnis. McGinnis, everything I've heard is very talented, not necessarily a great teammate, not necessarily a great team player.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of all about me. He was kind of a black hole. Take out the ball.
Maybe I imagined this, but didn't he play in the ABA as well?
He did.
I believe he did.
Pacers.
Pacers.
Pacers, yeah.
Yeah. So did he win some titles then in the ABA?
2 of them.
Didn't they? Weren't they loaded in the ABA?
Yeah.
I thought they had a handful of really good players in the ABA.
Do you remember who those guys were, Ray?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I don't either. I was really asking. I wasn't trying to show you up. I really don't know.
McGinnis and I think who else?
I swear I've read somewhere where those old Pacer teams were loaded.
Yeah, they had. I thought they had like 3 Hall of Famers on them. Yeah, but I can't remember who they were.
We've
To be honest
talked
with
about it before. Yeah, I can't think. Yeah, I mean, everyone says McGinnis was talented. He just wasn't always the greatest team player in the world. Kind of like a Westbrook, similar in that fashion. Maybe not trying to get triple doubles.
The big man version of Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
So he's more of a Elvin Hayes or something like that.
McGinnis was a point guard.
McGinnis is a power forward.
Yeah, he was power forward.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was about
I was a point guard or a shooting guard.
6'8", 6'10", something like that.
Yeah.
Big guy.
Okay, so here's the roster for the first ABA Pacers team. It was John Barnhill, Roger Brown, Larry Cannon, Wayne Chapman, Mel Daniels, Darnell Hillman, Bill Keller, George McGinnis, Rick Mount, Mike Price, Donald Slide, Marv Winkler. So
Mel Daniels was a big center, I believe. I think he was pretty good.
yeah,
And that Mount, wasn't he the Indiana kid? The great shooter?
From Purdue.
From Purdue, yeah.
Yeah.
But Roger Brown was also a big name as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but y'all won. You said you won. I say you guys. The Pacers won 2 titles in the ABA,
Yeah, we've got 2.
and then Doc won 2.
2.
So who won the 5th one?
I think it was the Kentucky team.
Kentucky Colonels.
So it split it up 2, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
And they were only around for 5 years, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And then the top half came to the NBA, and the bottom half disappeared.
Gosh
Yeah.
dang it, Jackie.
That's good stuff right there. Here's my other thing: is we kind of returned to it a few years ago, but when Doc enters the NBA and for the next, decade, maybe a little less, a little more, something like that, he played the same position as so many stars in the NBA. Like, it became like a small forward power class for a while. I mean, and I didn't really think about it until I was looking at some of this stuff and seeing the matchups in the playoffs, and I'm like, man, every year he makes the playoffs and he's matched up against a superstar small forward. Because everybody thinks, oh, Bird, but he wasn't the only one.
Right.
You had Dominique. You had Bernard King. You had
Yeah.
Alex English. You had did I say Dominique?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm forgetting some though.
There was just a lot of. I mean, Dantley would have been in that
Yeah,
time.
Dantley.
Rick Barry would have.
Yeah, Rick Barry and him
a little
overlapped.
bit, yeah. There was a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and just think about you take all the talent. I mean, obviously the teams from the ABA that came into the NBA got to keep some of their talent, but if you were on one of the teams that just got dissolved, besides having a rookie class coming from college, you've got all these guys that have got 3 or 4 years experience that were really good, all hitting the NBA at once.
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, the Nets were kept because of Dr. J.
Right.
And then immediately upon becoming an NBA team, they sold him for $3 million.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You have the greatest commodity in basketball and you sell him?
Right.
Like, wow.
And they said he was the most valuable player in the league due to his popularity and excitement.
Sure.
And he was the draw of the NBA at that time.
Yeah, I mean, well, just look at Philly. They picked up George McGinnis,
Mm-hmm.
who was off the Pacer championship teams, and Dr. J, the best player on the Nets.
Yeah, they lost in the first round every year.
Right, yeah. So it tells you
And
there's something
they
going
were a
on.
playoff team the year before McGinnis and Dr. J got there.
Yeah. I mean,
With Collins and they had somebody else. Collins and somebody got into the playoffs the year before.
yeah. It was just a crazy time in the NBA when they all came together.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, talking about the ABA stuff is, first off, I'm not educated on it enough to be like, oh my god, I know all this stuff. It's more of like just guesswork and questions.
Sure. Obviously we know there's some talent there because we've seen it in our lists, but it's hard to say.
It's so weird.
I
It
didn't really
happens
see
for
it.
5 years and then it's just all gone. Like it appeared so fast. I don't know.
Well, it's just kind of like MySpace. It was here for about 5 years, and all of a sudden, wow, there's Facebook, and then they're gone.
Yeah, I remember somebody saying the other day, one of my kids said, man, you know what would be cool is if my Twitter page, I could pick music to play on it while when you got on my page. And she's like, I looked at my kid and was like, that was MySpace. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, well, shall we enter litigation?
Oh boy.
Sure.
Go for it.
All right, Ray,
All right.
what's up, guy?
What's up?
I have 2 of them for you, only 2,
Oh man.
but they're 2 big ones.
Okay.
Why do you have Dr. J ranked ahead of Shaq?
As dominant as Shaq was, I think Julius is just a little more athletic, and he stayed that way. Shaq is just pretty much a paint guy, and I mean, you could defend Shaq if you probably doubled him.
Do you remember watching Shaq?
Yeah,
I don't think anybody defended Shaq.
right.
No.
That's why I took 2. But then you also have Julius Erving, who you couldn't really guard either, and was a little bit more exciting and a little bit well balanced. Shaq was, a good scorer, a good paint defender, but other than that, you weren't getting him anywhere else. At least with Julius Erving, he was all over the court working for you for 48 minutes straight. But I think that's why he's above Shaq just a little bit.
All right. And my second one for you, Ray, is why is Doc ahead of Kobe?
I think probably his defense is a little bit better, so a little bit better balanced player. We know Kobe can take over and just shut you down in the final minutes of the game, but Julius worked for 48 minutes straight.
I'm not trying to call you out or anything,
No,
but
I mean,
pretty much everything I read said Doc was a very poor defender. And Kobe's like a 12-time All-Defense guy.
well, I mean, they say that about LeBron too, but I mean, that's not really true. They can say that, but that's not really what went down.
So, are we back to being anti-championship?
I didn't say anti-champion. I just said
there's a guy with 4 and a guy with 5, and then a guy with 1.
I mean, you can have all the titles you want, but if the perception is I'm a great defender because I can run, 50 feet down the floor and block somebody, that's not exactly defense. That's just an aspect of your gameplay.
Are you still talking about LeBron?
Yeah,
I'm not talking about LeBron.
I am.
I'm talking about Shaq and Kobe.
I know. But, I mean, Shaq was a shot blocker, not really the greatest defender. Kobe was not the greatest defender, even though he might have, all defensive teams? No, that's not Kobe at all. He was a sniper and a game manager. I mean, he was exciting, but, I mean, he was not a defender.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you on half the stuff you just said, but I don't know what to say about it. So I'm going to go on to Drew. I have 2 for you as well, Drew.
Okay.
Number 1. Why Doc ahead of D-Wade?
What are you going to do like I normally do? Let me find D-Wade on my thing and show you what I was thinking a year ago when I did this.
Yeah, we're almost at the year mark.
Mm-hmm. Let me find... Oh, by the way, D-Wade. Probably with Dr. J's. I know it's 4 MVPs, but one was at least in the NBA compared to D-Wade. D-Wade does have a Finals MVP though.
He does.
2-1 on scoring championships. D-Wade's 3 times all defense. I thought all NBAs are pretty close. All stars. Dr. J is like 3 more. Points and all that. I think just you swap an MVP for Finals MVP. I don't know. I think Dr. J is a little bit more dominant than what D Wade was. I don't know. I feel like a little bit with time period. I think the way Dr. J. I just think he's a little more dominant than what D Wade was. But other than that, they're pretty similar. I think.
If you go by Doc's NBA stats, not his total stats, their stats are very similar. They have the same amount of points. Doc has a couple more rebounds, 2 more rebounds, and Wade has 1 more assist. And they're, until LeBron gets there, their careers are very similar. They're, putting up stats on teams that come up short in the playoffs, and then an all-time great center shows up and they win a championship.
And then LeBron shows up.
Well, then LeBron shows up and it changes. Yeah. So let me ask this before we move on from D Wade. So we all agree that D Wade was the second best player on the LeBron championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So was he the best player or the second best player on the first championship with Shaq?
He's the best player.
Best.
I would say he's the best.
Okay. Just wondering. That's where I was with it.
Shaq's definitely gotten older
And
and
fatter.
fatter. We all know he lied about his weight for Pat Riley.
Well, he was adjusting all the machines before practice every day so that Riley wouldn't catch him and all this stuff. He was even adjusting the settings on the exercise bikes. Like he has a big thing about it. How he's like I can't remember who told on him originally. Like one of the players that played with him there, it might have been Antoine Walker. Like talked about it like afterwards, not like during the time so he got in trouble, but like afterwards, like said it publicly. Like before practice, Shaq used to go in and adjust all these things so that Riley wouldn't yell and scream at us because Shaq was overweight or Shaq couldn't do the time on the bike or whatever.
Well, Walker's fat too.
yes.
He probably appreciated
Have
it.
do you ever see him when he comes on Fox?
He's real fat.
Oh my God, his face is bigger around than my waist.
Well, you gotta think someone who played professional basketball and played basketball nonstop all day, every day, and was still kind of fat while doing that. When they quit playing basketball, they're gonna blow up.
That's why I've been so surprised that Paul Pierce hasn't like just ballooned up.
That's true.
Because he was chubby as an NBA player. He might be thinner now than he was as an NBA player.
He is.
Yeah,
he
that's
looks
true.
better now. He really does.
Anyway, I'm off topic now. All right, Drew. Last one for you.
All right.
And 3 people in the room did this, which surprised me, by the way. Wade and I being the ones that didn't, but I decided to ask you.
Okay.
Why Doc ahead of Dirk?
Okay. Both have an MVP in the NBA. I think Doc scores a little bit more than Dirk does. Dirk probably definitely out rebounds him.
I wouldn't guarantee that.
It's probably close. Oh no, never mind. Dr. J out rebounds him. Okay, well, maybe that was a little bit because I don't know. It's only one, but they're all NBAs. I think Dirk has like 5 more. And Dr. J has 2 more All Stars.
So I guess what I'm saying, I guess here's my question: are we counting the ABA stuff? The NBA doesn't count the ABA stuff. So are we counting the ABA stuff towards this stuff? Because I mean, like when we compare, that's a big thing we have to know. I mean, because his stats and his accolades go down significantly if we don't count the ABA stuff.
When I compare him to other players, like say like the Dirk comparison, I'm not going to count the ABA stuff. But like we're talking about his legacy as a whole, I feel like you have to count it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Yeah. So like NBA Julius Erving was a worse rebounder than Dirk.
Yes.
So like that is in favor of Dirk. ABA version, but like because I don't know, it's weird with ABA. But
I mean, I thought when I did the opening statement on Doc, I only put his ABA stats. That's why I paused when I hit 16 years because I knew I'd screwed up because he played 11 years in the NBA. But everything else previous to that was his NBA numbers, like 22, 6, and 3 or whatever it was. Because I thought that's what we decided in the Rick Barry episode, but I wasn't 100% sure. I argued with myself sitting in my computer earlier today when I typed it out.
See, the way I argued with him, with D Wade, Dr. J looked at just his NBA stuff. Like he just has one MVP in the NBA. So
Right.
when they both have one, I'm like they just cancel each other
Well,
out.
here's the
Stuff like
thing. If you include all the ABA stuff, accolades, and stats, Doc's top 10 player all time, no questions.
Oh yeah,
he's one of 3 people with 30,000 points, 10,000 boards.
yeah.
And not just that, but that would be 4 MVPs and 3 championships. And
Right. He's probably
like-
the best player on those ABA teams.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
yeah.
give him 2 Finals MVPs in the ABA.
Yeah. Wow. And you add, 5 more all ABAs, so then you're at 12 all
Yeah.
league teams.
You add on, make it 12, like other players. So
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out before we got deeper into the Dirk stuff, Drew. Sorry.
all right, well, MVPs, they're the same. Dirk does have a Finals MVP. Both have a title. I will say Dirk's Finals MVP is probably the most impressive one. This is just his Finals in general is probably the most impressive one I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Probably the best, one of the most best ones of all time, I would say.
Here's what I'll say, Drew. Of your lifetime, I think it's hands down the most impressive finals run I've
the
ever
one I've
seen.
seen while I've been alive, definitely the best. No one can argue it.
The only other one in my lifetime that I think stands up to it is Olajuwon's first one with Houston. Well, obviously, he didn't win more than anybody else.
Yeah. I would put Dirk's just a little bit above it because he took down one of the most loaded teams we've ever seen
And
by
the-
himself.
And the hype that was all going in that Finals. Oh, LeBron and Chris Bosh. In their first year, too, before Bosh had all that.
Those Heat teams legitimately had 3 of the top 10 players in the league on it. You could argue that Dwayne Wade had an argument to be the best player in the league at that point. He was top 3. It was LeBron, Kobe, D Wade, maybe
What year was that they joined?
10 or 11.
It was 11, I think.
10.
It was 11.
Was it a
'cause-
10-11 season?
Yeah, 10-11, because Lakers won at 09, 10, and then...
Yeah, so Kobe's coming off his 2 championships.
because the Mavericks beat the
So,
Lakers on
so
the
yeah,
way.
Kobe's still at the peak of his powers there, or they're at the end of it. Then you got obviously the Bronze up and coming, and D Wade's been slaughtering people for a few years at that point. And D Wade has a scoring title. He has an MVP, or not MVP, a Finals MVP and a championship. And then Bosch, the year they joined, was voted best power forward in the league that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Wade's 100% right, though. A lot of people forget this. There was a legit argument among NBA fans I know, that thought Dwayne Wade might be the best player in the NBA over LeBron. And then they joined forces.
Yeah, there was a couple years in there. Bill Simmons will tell you that Dwayne Wade was the best player in the league the first year of that super team. He said he was better than LeBron, and he was the best player in the league because his ability to be a lockdown defender, obviously score, everybody knows that. He was a underrated facilitator and rebounder, and he would completely take over the game in the fourth quarter when LeBron struggled to do it.
Okay, the first year. Okay, what we decided that was 10-11?
Yeah.
So if that's correct, then D Wade averaged 25, 6, and 4, a steal and a block that season on 50% shooting. But 2 seasons before that, he averaged 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 7.5 assists, 2 steals and a block.
Yeah, so I'm saying that was a scoring title year.
Yeah. Like, D Wade was a beast, and he's averaging 30 and couldn't shoot a lick.
That's what I'm talking about his ability to get into the basket earlier. Him and Giannis both were terrible shooters. They're going to be all-time greats. That's kind of what Dr. J did.
I think this is a little off subject, but I think D Wade, what made him great, also hurt his career and shortened his career.
Yeah,
Because
knees going to take the pounding.
His knees going to take the pounding, and the abuse he took being so small, attacking the rim all the time. I think, I mean, it did it to D Rose just much quicker.
Right.
You know, and to an extent, it did it to John Wall.
Yeah.
You know, those guys are, you know, they just couldn't stay healthy after a while. Anyway, did you finish your Dirk Doc stuff? Yeah. Okay. Now I'm done with you. Uncle Doug.
Yes, sir.
I also have 2 for you.
Okay.
Why Doc ahead of Rick Barry?
All right, let's look at these. Well, let's see. Doc's got an MVP over Rick. Rick's got a Finals MVP.
We all know.
Yeah. And again, the numbers, if you go with total career numbers, Dr. J's definitely got him. NBA numbers, probably close, but I just felt like Doc had a bigger impact. And yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were still talking.
No, that's it.
Okay, now I'm going to go the other way.
Okay.
And some of this is because of who you are. But why Doc? Or no, wait. Switch that. We're going the other direction. Why Baylor ahead of Doc?
Okay. Well, again, that's strictly going to be, I'm sure, the numbers, because Elgin does not have the title or the MVP, the one. But his numbers were so crazy. Of course, I know it was a different league at the time. But his numbers, even over if you include the ABA, he still got him by quite a bit.
Yeah, he does.
And so I'm sure that's the reason I went with that.
Did we have pace adjusted stats for Baylor during Baylor? Or we had Baylor's episode already.
Yeah.
Did we have pace adjusted stats for Baylor?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I remember talking about his MVPs and how he should have won a couple.
Yeah, we did that with him and Jerry West, I believe.
Right, yeah. I was thinking maybe we had, but I don't remember what they were.
I don't remember either. I don't have my Baylor stuff with me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, some of the insane numbers he puts up, if you knock them down just a little bit, they're still insane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he averages 13 rebounds a game for his career, so I'm sure it's probably 7 or 8 for if it's adjusted.
And like you said, the rebounds are really the only thing that take a big hit.
Yeah.
All the other
I'm
stuff
sure it
is
goes
just-
down to probably, instead of 27, it's probably 25 or 24 points.
Yeah.
And, you know, something like that. All right, Uncle Doug, I'm done with you.
Okay.
And Willard, I only have one for you, sir.
Oh, okay.
Why Doc ahead of KG?
Well, I said in the Barkley episode, I probably should have swapped Garnett and old Barkley.
Oh, did you? I don't remember that. Sorry.
Yeah. So, with that being said, he would be ahead of Doc.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I guess that was a lame ending to litigation. All right. Well, litigation has ended unless somebody has a question they'd like to ask me before it's over.
I don't have one on your list.
I mean,
sir.
look at your list yet.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Oh, I figured y'all had them sitting in front of you. I figured y'all all
zoned
did it
out.
for a bit yours.
Zoned out.
While you guys review the list, so you can ask Alex, I just wanted to bring up a little bit of a what if that we can kind of throw out there. When Dr. J came from the ABA, okay, we're talking when he came into the ABA. I'm talking not when they merged, but initially. He started playing in the ABA in 71.
Mm-hmm.
In 72, he was drafted by the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks tried to. I mean, you just think the Bucks were just 2 years removed from their title with Kareem. And this is about the time they were getting ready to ship Kareem, I believe. But Dr. J could have been on that team. The Atlanta Hawks tried to pull a fast one, and they signed him before the draft. So he had a contract with the Virginia Squires in the ABA. He had a contract with the Atlanta Hawks, and he was drafted by the Bucks. The courts ended up having to settle it all. They ended up sending him back to Virginia, who then sent him to New Jersey. And the whole deal between the Hawks and the Bucks wasn't settled until, I think, 75, 3 or 4 years later. And the Hawks ended up having to give the Bucks money, and I think they had to forfeit a draft pick or something over this whole deal.
I heard about that on one podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But just think, if Dr. J had gone to the Bucks while Kareem was still there,
Or Atlanta
Yeah.
with Pistol.
yeah, or Atlanta with Pistol.
I think it would have been more fun to see Pistol and because of how crazy Pistol Pete was, all those crazy passes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine all those passes to Dr. J.
Right. I mean,
Dr.
think how many
J would have liked
dunks
him.
Yeah.
he would have had. Alley-oop City.
Yeah, that would have been nuts to watch.
Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, that's definitely a crazy, crazy what if. I don't remember what podcast I was listening to, but they talked about that on there too, about how, he could have ended up playing for one of these two NBA teams with another all-time great, and
yeah.
what could it have been, and because, playing with, Doc and Kareem, that's wow.
Oh, anyway, you guys can do the rest of the litigation.
Okay. Does anybody who all has one?
I have
I-
one.
I haven't seen his list yet.
I'll go.
Alex, why do you have Julius Erving above Stephen Curry?
Oh, I was going to ask that. Damn it. That's one of. I got another one. So it's okay.
We've talked about Steph for me a lot. He's coming up my list. I'm not 100% sure where he's going to slot. Again, I've talked about it in the past too. I also, the unfinished product stuff sometimes gets me too. But I don't know if he will be ahead of Steph by the end of this or not.
Oh.
I think it's really funny that the person who doesn't have Steph asked him that question. That's funny. Besides that one, I was going to ask, why is Kevin McHale significantly higher than Dr. J?
Yeah, we've talked about that too. McHale's my, bugaboo. That's the right word. McHale's going to come down my overall list. He's too high on my overall list. I don't think he's going to come down my power forward list, but
Where is he on your power forwards?
6 or 7, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think he's somewhere in the middle of the pack or lower end of mine, I think.
I think with McHale, as far as where he's at on my list, I think I was just throwing big men at the board at the beginning. Like, my centers and my power forwards, I almost emptied in my top 25 guys. Like, all the big guys just flooded off my list fairly quickly, and I think I don't know. I just got caught up in some of that.
You have 7 of each in your top 25.
Yeah, see?
Fair enough.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Why do you have Elvin Hayes ahead of Julius Erving?
I think is I don't know personally. Sit here and think about it, but I would probably say overall numbers. And before our research for this, I thought for sure Elvin Hayes was the best player on a championship team,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really turn out that was the case.
Yeah,
So-
I learned a lot in that Elvin Hayes
So
episode.
I think I was mistaken on some of my Elvin Hayes facts. So there may be some Elvin Hayes adjustment, not that drastic, but there may be some adjustment on part of that. I don't know. I'm not down on Doc. I'm not as high on Doc as some of you all are. I do have a lot of wonders about Doc. I wonder. We've talked about some players in the past that like AI, who was so insanely popular and like a celebrity that I think overblew actually how good of a basketball player they are. And I think Doc kind of falls into that category some. He, squandered a lot of his NBA career with first round exits. Putting up good numbers, but not fantastic numbers. I was actually reading Bill Simmons' book on the Dr. J chapter, and he has Dr. J at 15. So where Drew has him. But like the first entire page, he bashes Doc. Like he's like, Doc could be the greatest player ever, but Doc didn't play defense. Doc was too passive and didn't care whether he got enough shots or, and there's like a whole page of like just this and that. And
One of you guys
There's
mentioned
way.
he deferred to
George
George
McGinnis.
McGinnis for a couple of years when he probably
Yeah.
shouldn't have.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. I have a lot of questions, maybe borderline on concerns with Doc, and maybe I didn't voice them very well in this episode. Not that I'm saying he's, terrible or not very good. I mean, he's 28 on my list. I'm not saying he's, bad by any means. I'm not saying that. I was actually a little surprised when I saw him at 13 and 15 on people's lists. So, and I was dumbfounded when I saw him ahead of Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't even know why what somebody's question was though. Now that I've
McHale. Or no, Elvin Hayes.
Elvin
Elvin
Hayes,
Hayes.
yeah, Elvin Hayes, yeah. So, but I also have a bunch of questions about Elvin Hayes at this point too. So,
I agree. I would have to rethink
Yeah,
my
that
Elvin
episode
Hayes,
kind of opened
too.
my eyes to more what he was.
I might, Drew. I might have to put Bob Pettit ahead of Elvin Hayes. I don't know.
That's right. Bob Pettit's climbing the list.
Oh my
I'm
god.
telling you right now. Yep. When we do our final episode, I'm wearing my Bob Pettit jersey. That's right, fans. I got one. His MVP Platinum jersey. Yes, sir.
Oh,
That's
man.
crazy.
That's great. Any more questions on the list, guys?
No.
No.
I think that's
One of the ones
Yeah.
that stuck out.
All right. Well, shall we do our closing statements?
Slightly.
sure.
All right. Well, I'll go first. I do think Doc is a all-time great and deserving to be on our list. I wish that I was alive and able to watch him play during his heyday. I think that would have been fantastic. There's guys that I read articles of theirs and everything that just talked about being able to be in the gym and watch Doc play was like one of the greatest things in their life. And that sounds pretty spectacular to be able to do. I don't see Doc having like a huge rise or fall on my list. I'm fairly comfortable with where I have him. He may adjust slightly, but I don't think I have a huge issue with where I have him. Wade?
I just think Doc just meant a lot to the game of basketball, on and off the floor. He did things that people had never seen before. He did things that people 50 years later, probably still can't do. He was just an amazing athlete, amazing basketball player, accomplished a lot of things in the NBA and ABA, and kind of like Alex said, I think he's in a pretty good spot on my list, and he'll probably stay at a similar position at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see Dr. J moving much on my list. I mean, maybe a slight adjustment, but I was lucky enough to at least watch him play on TV and to see the behind the backboard layup and some of the other things he did was athletically he was unbelievable. And I know you mentioned Bill Simmons saying, he had the talent to maybe be the greatest of all time. And I think he probably did have that talent. He didn't always get it all, but he was electric to watch. So, yeah. Definitely need to be high on our list.
Drew?
Oh, well, you guys have said most everything. He was electric to watch. One of the greatest dunkers of all time. We haven't said too much about that, but we've talked about his greatest dunks. He's definitely one of the greatest dunkers of all time.
Would love to have watched he and Vince Carter in a dunk contest.
Mm-hmm. Throwing Dominique in there.
Oh, yeah.
About the ultimate trio.
Just throw this in there. I read an article that said that Elgin Baylor and Bill Russell brought above the rim play to the NBA, and then Doc took it to another stratosphere, and then we continued on with Dominique and Jordan, and then
Vince Carter.
Yeah,
all
they
that.
moved on from there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Obviously, Dr. J dominated when he was ABA. When he came to the NBA, he kind of took a backseat there for a minute, but then early 30s, he decided, oh, well, I'm going to go out there and score 26 again. I mean, most guys don't do that. You don't see them come back like that, scoring 26 again. So that just shows you how athletic he was. Yeah, he was just electric to watch.
And Ray.
All right, so everybody's pretty much said it. So just go out there, get on YouTube, watch a highlight reel. We can only describe it so much on this broadcast, but go look for it and witness it yourself, and you'll understand what the hell we're talking about, because he was phenomenal, and it's a must-see. So we can only do so much, so just go out there and watch the man play.
All right. Well, that will end our Dr. J portion of this episode and move us into trivia. Drew?
Well, first, before everyone's grabbing their boards, I'm going to read the TikTok since
Hell
last week
yeah.
I did not have one.
yeah. Drew's TikTok
Let's
section.
go.
All right, well, all you Cincinnati Bengals fans, I've been hating on you guys all these TikToks. Well, this one, you guys are the first team in NFL history to have a 4,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, and 2 1,000-yard receivers, all 25 or younger in the same season.
Oh,
Wow. It is impressive.
yeah.
And you guys are looking good for the playoffs, so the text message might get sent. Alex doesn't think so, but
I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to win the division. I just don't see them getting a playoff dub this year.
the AFC is just so tough.
Colts,
be honest.
Colts, Colts. Right.
All right.
Well, your prediction's not coming true, Ray.
What do you mean?
You predicted 14 wins for the Colts this year.
Oh, well, we're a little behind. But
Maybe if we get to 11 and then win all our games in the playoffs. we'll
Yeah.
get to 14.
There you go.
yeah.
All right, Drew, you got a
All right.
question for us?
Yep. Who was the last player to average 11-plus assists in the NBA Finals?
In the finals.
Yes, in the finals.
Oh, okay.
Who was the last player to average 11 assists in the finals?
Yes.
Wow. 11 assists. That's a lot of assists.
It is. And just the finals makes it a little tricky.
Yeah. We poured over a whole bunch of final stats a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what episode that was, but we went through a ton of different finals.
Yeah, was that David Robinson?
It was a David Robinson,
We
yeah.
started talking
David
about
Robinson episode, yeah.
what he did and all those.
Yeah, and then we went off on a Lakers tangent where we're looking up Shaq and Kobe's numbers, and then
What
we ended
Shaq
up
did to the Nets.
yeah, and then we went into the Nets and looked up a whole bunch of Nets stuff, and then we looked at Duncan and look what Duncan because Duncan like had like an insane stat line against the Nets, and like we went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah, we occasionally get a
The
little
early
off track.
2000s are very interesting about what those teams did.
Okay. Anyway, let's write out
Yeah,
an answer.
yeah, yeah. We need an 11 assist guy.
Okay, 11 assists. Okay, I'll write something down.
I gotta guess anyway. You just asked for the person, right?
Yeah, just a person.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to guess.
I gotta
Okay.
guess.
All right, let's see him.
I said Rondo.
Okay.
I said Rondo.
All right. All right.
I also said Rondo.
Michael Jordan in 1991.
That long ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I almost said Stockton, and then I was like, oh, that's too long ago.
Yeah. I almost said Nash. I thought, well, maybe Steve did it.
Well, he didn't make a finals.
That's
Right. That's why.
I got a fun one for you.
Okay.
All right.
By the way, no points on that question.
Russell Westbrook has the most games in NBA history with 5 or more turnovers. How many times has he done it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
With 5 or more turnovers. Wasn't he averaging 5 turnovers a game this year?
Probably.
I think it was somewhere
Russell
in the mid-fours,
Westbrook.
but close. Maybe it is 5 now. Who the hell knows?
People on ESPN.
Did you hear him last night?
Yeah, he said, I've played pretty well through this Lakers slump.
Yeah. Everybody just expects me to average 25, 15, and 15, but that's not possible. No, we're not expecting you that. We're just not expecting you to play like dog shit.
Turn the ball over.
Yeah, like quit turning the ball over
You want the exact
and
number right away.
shooting 30%.
Just give me a guess of how many games he's had 5 plus turnovers.
All right, I got to guess.
All right. Are we gonna? Are we? You have to get it right, or the closest person gets a point.
Here's when you do closest person, I guess.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
I put 213.
I said 130.
I said 301.
I gave him a pretty good benefit of the doubt because I said 50 times.
Oh, well, Uncle Doug gets the point. It's 383.
Oh my god! I was being nice.
I'm sure by the time I read this, it's probably at like 387 now.
Oh, wow.
A little under 400 times.
Wow.
We've got guys on our list that barely play 400 games.
Right, yeah.
Holy cow!
Hey, I'll take the point.
I was scared my number was too big. Like I really was.
Well, I put
I can,
100 down. I was like, man, I thought that's
No, 380. Not only that, but then I'll give you top 5. And then number 2 is LeBron James with 370. Number 3 is James Harden with 327. Number 4 is Karl Malone, 282. And number 5 is Allen Iverson with 272.
Didn't Malone play like 20 seasons in the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
He played a long time.
And Westbrook has over 100 more than him?
Yeah, Westbrook's in like, what, year 12?
Yeah.
yeah,
something like that.
that's insane.
Wow. That's crazy.
Okay, you or me, Ray?
I'll go ahead and hit it up.
I did give you a point, by the way. Uncle
Oh.
Doug.
Thank you.
All right. Who was the 5-time NBA All-Star who set a record by going 0 for 17 from the field in a 1991 game?
Okay.
I feel like I should know this.
A 5-time All-Star.
And he went 0 for 17.
Huh. I have no idea, Ray.
You're welcome.
It's got to be some guard. It can't be a big guy because they've at least dunk it once. You would think.
You would think. You would think.
Watch it be like, no, because all those guys have way too many all
I
stars.
got a question, Ray.
Okay.
Did this person make a list?
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair at all.
I'm going with plead the fifth.
Oh, okay.
I have an answer.
I have an answer.
Oh,
I
damn
do
it.
not.
I feel like we talked about this not that long ago.
Really?
I feel like I should know this.
Well, I made in the 8 finals, Dennis Johnson went 0 of 14 from the field. We
That's what
talked
I'm
about that
thinking
a
of.
couple weeks ago.
You're right. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
All right, I got to guess.
Man. All right, I got to guess.
All right, I got one.
You got one, Wade?
Yeah.
Okay. I said Mitch Richmond.
I said Dennis Rodman.
Reggie Miller.
I said Mark Jackson.
All right. And if you had Tim Hardaway as a guest, you would be right.
I sit here and debated back and forth between the 3 guys from the Warriors. Oh, and I picked Richmond. Damn it.
I got a fun one for you.
All right.
It's a draft question.
It is. I'm sticking with the draft. In 1972, number 12 for the Milwaukee Bucks was Dr. J. Number 2 that year was Bob McAdoo.
Mm-hmm.
Who was number 1?
72?
72.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, Uncle Doug might get us because he's asked us about Hall of Famers in drafts before, but then he asked us that guy from Brazil a couple weeks ago, and you know, none of us even knew who he was.
Yeah.
So this could go either direction. This could be like Hall of Famer guy, or this could be like guy we have no idea who he is.
Russia no stereo. From Russia. Mother Russia. I don't know why I keep talking. I wrote a name down. I don't know.
I wrote an old guy down.
I'm gonna write one, but I'm pretty sure I'm not right. All right,
Okay.
I wrote Artist Gilmore.
I put Gilmore.
I put Dave Cowens.
I put George Gervin.
Well, this gentleman played for Loyola Chicago, and his name is LaRue Martin.
I told you, it's gonna be some joker we don't know.
He played 271 games in the NBA, averaged 5.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 0.7 assists.
So this guy was the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft,
Over Bob McAdoo.
and played less games than Russell Westbrook has 5 turnovers in.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Motherfucker might as well have been from Russia. I don't know who the hell that is.
I didn't either. That's why I'm like, who the heck is this? Because I knew McAdoo.
Yeah.
It was a very controversial draft, and it had to do with McAdoo getting accused of, he was coming out of North Carolina, and they thought maybe he'd already signed with the ABA and then the NBA, and he didn't want to play for Portland, and it gone back and forth, so Portland did not draft him. This LaRue Martin actually averaged 18 or 19 points and 11 or 12 rebounds for Loyola Chicago.
So he
Problem was, yeah, well, but his Loyola Chicago teams were terrible. I mean, he had decent stats, but he was like 6'11". You need to look him up. He had the 70s fro going on. I mean, he was, yeah. So,
All right, here's my question, guys. In 1971, Norm Van Leer had a double-double, but while scoring 0 points. That feat did not happen again until last week. Who did it?
Double with 0 points.
I know who he played for.
Can you let me in on who it is?
No.
We don't need Wade scoring any more points.
I know. It's on the... I literally saw it, and I told Dad about it when it happened.
I can't remember either.
Okay.
Okay. Let's think here.
I will give a small hint. In our NBA draft episode, we made fun of this person.
Was I even at that episode?
Probably not. I don't remember back now. I just wrote my answer.
Meh. Okay, I wrote someone down.
I got an answer.
Everybody?
Ready.
Yeah.
All right.
I put Draymond.
I said Trae Young.
I said PJ Tucker.
White guy from OKC.
Well, you're not wrong in what you put. But it's not his name.
Poku?
No, it's Josh Giddey. He was the number 10 pick in the draft this last year. Because we made fun of him because he's from Australia.
Oh.
And his knocks were he can't shoot and he's too slow to play defense. And we're like, what? But he's actually playing pretty decent this year.
I told you I knew it was. Just couldn't think of his name.
Yeah, he had 10 rebounds and 10 assists and 0 points.
Oh man.
All right. Well, a whole 1 point was scored this week. So the tallies are as follows. Ray with 20. Doug and Drew now tied at 42. Alex at 48 and Wade at 54. So Wade's lead remained the same this week. And the only movement was Doug's 1 point to retie him with Drew. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to our Dr. J episode. And we appreciate you tuning in next week to listen to our episode on Kevin Durant. And thanks for your listen to Sports the Nemo Way.